So this is the video which is going to outline the new way of creating the spine, which is a lot easier than what I showed some of you guys in class. This is actually not using any sort of spline or IK systems. It's using just straight controls for the back and the tail. For the face we are going to use some constraints so that they aren't affected by anything below down the chain of joints. So at this point we should be here where we've got our legs IK'd and everything's looking good and nice and everything's working. At the minute my pole vectors are working, my feet are working. I've color coded everything, so let's change the color. So blue on the left, red on the right, and I've got all my name conventions sorted and everything's nice, good. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set up the controls for the face, not actually start to make them, to actually connect them, just to start making them so that they're in place, ready for when I want to actually connect them up. And we're going to build everything from a circle, just because it's really simple and it's a really versatile tool. So far all my controls have been made from a circle. Remember, if you want to affect a circle, we can just hold right click over the top of it, go to control vertex, and then we can actually affect the curve if we want to. It's very cool. So I'm going to make two controls for my eyes now, so I can actually choose where I want my eyes to look. So I'm going to call this one my left eye CTRL. And I'm just going to snap that. Well, first I'm going to rotate around 45 degrees, no, 90 degrees, so that it's flat, and I'm just going to snap it to the eyeball there. And remember, I can do that just by holding the V for snap to vertex. It also helps. It also snaps to joints, which is very useful. I am working with my geometry turned off, just so that geometry isn't getting in the way. So now I'm just going to duplicate that and then snap it over to the other side. Name that my right eye control. And now if I just grab them both, and I'm just going to move them forward a little bit, because at the minute they're over the top of my eyes. But if I bring back my eyes and whatever, you can see that they are actually sat inside and they're not able to be grabbed. So if I just move them out a little bit, almost like glasses, then I've got two controls to grab. So hide that again. So first things first, I'm going to freeze the transformation so all our information zeroed out, and I'm going to delete the history to these selected objects so that nothing at all can affect these. And now I'm going to color code them. So again, everything on the left side is blue. I've got my blue chosen in here. Where are you? There you go. Nice strong blue. And then everything on the right side is red. There you go. Nice, good. Oh, just noticed that one is the wrong shade of red. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So next I'm going to make another circle, and I'm going to use this for my my jaw control. So I'm just going to bring it out again, snap it to just in front of the jaw, bring it down like that, just check its position. Okay, so okay, like that. Actually, what I might do for this one, just because it's a bit of an awkward position, is I'm going to just grab these two sets here and move them out, and just make a bit of an easier shape to grab for my object, like that. Yep. Okay, that's now my jaw control. So next I'm going to make my, let's say my head control. So I'm going to actually create a control which controls this central cluster joint here, my head joint, so that I can actually just rotate this to get some minor movement in there. And then I'm going to do another one for here. So again, I'm just going to use a circle control, snap it to there. I'm just going to move it to the back of the head. So bring back my geometry. Okay, make it nice and big so it's grabbable. And then I'm just going to make a shape that I can easily recognize and grab. And something that won't interfere with anything else. So, okay. Cool. So oh, I forgot to name two of my controls there, so we need to go back. So this is going to be my head control, and that one at my front is my jaw control. Oop, I've done something. Head control. There you go. Jaw control. So I'm going to freeze both the transformations on these and delete the history. Oops. And then I'm going to color code these, but instead of, because these are in the center, there's no left or right variable to it, I'm just going to color code these yellow, so I know everything that's yellow is going down the center. Oh, there's my yellow. There's my yellow, and it stands out nice against the black, the blue and the red. There we go. Nice, good. So now I'm going to make my neck control. And I'm going to make it nice and grabbable, nice and big. Yeah, cool. Now what I've done there is I've altered the shape, but because I first snapped it to that joint there, its orientation is still actually associated with it. Now these other two, I moved them before I changed the shape, so I will have to reorientate the joints, not the joints, sorry, the pivots of these to the joint I want to affect them. That's really simple though, because we've not actually constrained anything just yet. I can just hold D and V. Remember, D and V is our reorientate manipulator, so I can just drop that onto that joint. So now whenever I rotate this, it's going to rotate from that point. And this one I can snap to there. So now when this rotates, it's going to rotate like that. And that'll make a lot more sense when we actually connected them to our model. So let's color code this. Oh, let's name it first. So it's going to be my neck control. Ooh. It's going to be yellow because it's in the center, and it's going to have its transformations and history deleted. Nice, good. So the last ones are just going to be for the ear, and there's a bit of a cool trick to just make one control for the ear and then just move it across to the other side. Or in fact, what we can do is snap it to the very top of the ear. So if we bring back our geometry, just bring it to the top of the ear. I guess make it quite big. Rotate like that. So I'll just rotate it so it's facing down the ear. Because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to leave it there so it's much easier to grab, but again, reorientate the pivot down to there. Now I'm not going to do that just yet before I do anything else, I'm going to freeze transformation, delete the history, like that. So there's nothing associated with this. I'm going to duplicate it, so I've made my duplication there, my NURB circle 2. And I'm going to reset the transformation so that the pivot point is put in the middle of the world again. Our shape is still here, but the pivot point is back down here. Now inside our channel box, I'm going to do a little trick. I want to flip it across the x-axis, the red axis. Everything should be in the middle of the world. So if I flip it across there, it should go exactly the same position, just in the negative side. So if I know I want to flip it across X, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to scale, and in scale X I'm going to put -1. And there you see it's positioned it in the exact same position, just in a negative orientation. So now I can freeze transformation, and I want to center the pivot on that one. And for both of these, in fact, I'll just run the same functions, just to be super sure that nothing's going to be left over. Center the pivot. Cool. So now I want to just snap the manipulator to that bottom point there. Snap the manipulator to that bottom point there. There you go. So now the ears both rotate around a certain position, and now I can go and color code these. So remember, blue for the left, red for the right, because I can't think of a color which starts with L that isn't lilac. There we go. So now that's everything set up for the head. Is everything named correctly? Nope, things aren't named correctly. So this is going to be my my left ear control, and it's going to be my right ear control. Can't type today. And we're done with these for the time being, because we're just going to set up all the controls first, and then worry about stuff later on. Okay, so now I'm going to look at doing my tail controls, and what I'm going to do for these is I'm just going to leave it as a circle and kind of have like handles above my tail. So if I just bring back my geometry, you'll see what I mean. So I'll change the shape a little bit. There we go. So all my controls are going to look like this. In fact, I can just go ahead and set that to a yellow now. So I'm not going to change the pivot position either. I'm just going to leave everything as it is. I'm just going to duplicate one, snap, and then I'm going to rotate it in like the orientation of the tail. So as it bends round, the controls will themselves kind of bend with the tail. And I don't have to put one to the end because I don't need to. Okay. Yep. Looking alright. Cool. Now freeze all that transformation. Delete the history. So now I'm going to call these my tail 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 tails. So this is going to be my tail 01 CTRL. I can just copy that to make it easy for myself. Tail 2, tail 3, oh, tail 31, tail 3, and then tail 4. Cool. Now the last few I'm going to make as going to be the main body controls, and then a world control. So we're very close to the end at the minute. So the controls we're actually going to make for this now are going to be a one big like control for the pelvis, which will control everything above the legs, and then we're going to have 4 controls going from like the what would be the clavicle here down the spine, and then like I said, one big global control which controls everything, which means we can scale, we can rotate, we can do whatever we want with it. So in fact I'm going to make that global control first, which is really easy to make because it's something that sits on the floor at the world 0, and just needs to have a basic shape to it. The way I tend to shape these is give it a little bit of a forward axis, so something more like that. Yeah, so I know that that is that's my forward, so I know where my character is facing. Tweak that a little bit. Okay. Freetype transformation, delete that history. Let's name this our big capital letters global CTRL, because everything will end up being underneath this anyway. So I'm going to actually color code this a bright green. There we go, nice strong bright green. Boom. Okay. So that should have no information applied to it. Nope. So next I'm going to start just making my pelvis control, and again I'm just going to make a circle, rotate it into place and scale it up. Now I'm going to bring my body back for this because I want this to be very, very noticeable and very grabbable. I don't want to have to be messing around trying to grab this control. So I'll just go in and make it nice and big. So you can spend quite a long time on these controls if you want. I'm just keeping mine very simple, but the formula is still there. So just like before, I've gone in and I've made sure I snap to this pelvis joint first, and then I've changed the shape so that the pivot point is still there. If you do end up moving yours so it is off kilter, before you start to constrain anything or anything like that, just make sure you reorientate that pivot using the DNV function. So that's going to be my root, capital letters as well, root control. So some of you might notice, and I think someone's commented on this in class. I sometimes name stuff in the channel box, and I sometimes name stuff in the outliner. There's no real difference between the two. It's just I guess whatever my hand is closest to, I'll rename it there. Okay. So let's color code this. I'm going to give this a purple. Nice bright. Boom. Perfect. That's so I'm keeping all the major controls given different colours. So everything down the centre is a yellow. Everything on the left side is a blue. Everything on the right side is a red. My main root is purple, and my global is green. Just keeping just nice and simple to understand. So now I'm going to do my spine joints, and in class for speed I just did these as circles, but what I'm actually going to do now is just spend a little bit of time and make a better shaped control. All it's going to be is some sort of like arcing shape over its back that I can easily recognise. And like I said, you can spend quite a long time doing these sort of things, and sometimes it's good to take a little bit of time. Just get yourself out of whatever you were just doing. And enjoy the process. Okay, so that's my first one made. So now I'm going to DNV that to that joint, and then I can just go and snap down the line. This one needs to move back like this, and maybe go like this. Okay. So freeze all these transformations, delete the history. Let's color code these yellow, obviously, because these are in the center. And because I've changed the shape, I can tell what's a spine control, I can tell what's a head control, I can tell what's a tail control. And this color coding is what I do. I've got very used to using yellow, red, blue, purple and green, and I know what is meant to be what. So if you find yourself not loving it, don't worry about it. Change your colours, see what works best for you. Okay, so let's get rid of these two. So these all should be yep, so now we can go name these. So I'm going to go from 1 being the first one, so spine joint 1 will be spine control 1, and then going down to 4. So spine 01 CTRL 01 CTRL. It's good to make a habit of any numbers you have, if it's a single digit, single unit like 1 to 8, always prefix it with a 0. It doesn't really matter inside Maya, but in other things it will matter, because it can mess up your order. If you've just got a single digit like 1, then it might put it in, 2 will turn up in front of 20 and 3 will turn up in front of 30. But if you've just got a 0 in front of it, then it knows that it's a single decimal. Okay, so looking over, that should be everything now. I'm just going to recolor this purple, just because I think I'll lose. There you go. Okay, I'll lose place with that inside the head. Okay, cool. So at this point, I'm going to save, and then in the next video, we're going to be actually connecting all these controls together, and because it's really simple to connect these controls, we don't have to worry about splines, like I said. So when we come back, we'll have that. Okay.